gamers, boys, girls, ladies, gentlemen, and any non-binary friends that we have, welcome by popular demand to our Empoleon Division Power Rankings, made by me for you, all authentically my opinion, and honestly, let's just jump into it. I'm going to be going from lowest to highest, so starting at number 12 and ending at number 1, and I just want to say that, I like most of these teams, so even if, you're lower down, don't even worry about it, honestly. Unless you're the bottom 3, bottom 4, those teams I have, issues with. But that's what PRs are for, so that A, you can hear stuff like that, and B, you can know what to use your transactions for. It's all constructive criticism, it's all love. So that said, let's get into it. Coming in at number 12, Toby. Buddy. Listen. Mama swine. So at number 11, I'm kidding. I would never do that. Genuinely though, this team is really pretty rough. You have a hail mode, it's not great. Sandslash Alola is bad. It's cool, it goes fast, and it gets double stabs, obviously, and then Steel Spike to boost its defense, but 2 4x weaknesses, really, really bad, and base 100 attack is really not great in terms of your primary offensive piece in that specific mode. Really not something you want to be relying on. Obviously, you can do Blizzard spam with Scarf Abomasnow, but that's kind of your only option. It's really not great. I respect hail modes, but this one is really not good. It also, you don't have any speed control. Your best speed control is Icy Wind from Abomasnow, which is bad, or Bulldoze on Landorus, which admittedly is not the worst thing in the world, but there's not really anything here that you want to be bulldozing next to. And then you have Airstream from Landorus, which is fine, but it's not optimal. Obviously Airstream is great, but it shouldn't be one of your primary speed control tools, It should be something that you can use if you need it, but not something that you have to use in order to get the speed advantage. You also have 2 Trick Room setters with Oranguru and Bronzor. First of all, even on a hard Trick Room team, there's really not any reason to have both of these Pokemon. Additionally, you don't really have any abusers. Technically, if you squint at it, you have Dredagon, but base 48 is not amazing for Trick Room. 120 base attack is good, but it's Dredagon, you're gonna get outdone by any other Trick Room team, and so the mode in and of itself is really not great. If you traded out Oranguru or Bronzor for something that could abuse it more, that would probably be better. I also think it's worth considering dropping Dredagon to begin with. I really don't think it does very much on your team to begin with, and adding that ice weakness that people are so willing to rag on you about, really, really bad. I don't hate Dredagon, but I think in this specific comp, I think it's worth reconsidering and getting a better tier 4 Trick Room Abuser, and maybe 2 better ones. It won't give you a fantastic blow everyone away Trick Room mode, but it'll be more serviceable than what you have right now. You're also really weak to some pretty significant type combinations. Obviously, the one that people are calling out primarily is Ice and Ground, which is not great to have a big weakness to, because they're really common offensive typings. But additionally, this team gets wrecked by Ghost Dark. You don't have, any ghost resist except Oranguru, which just gets smacked by Dark, and almost every mon that gets a Dark move gets a Ghost move as well, or vice versa. Like, if you go up against Spectrier, yikes, dude, I don't know what to tell you. There's definitely some solid offensive potential. Like, Landorus is really strong. Base 145 is absolutely stupid, and firing off max airstreams is good. Naganadel is good. It's pretty easy to kill, but it's strong, so like it'll kill stuff. Alchemy is cool. It's on a team like this, I really worry that it's just going to become a decorate bot, which isn't like the worst thing in the world, but being that one-dimensional is really not fantastic, which isn't to say that you would play it one-dimensionally, but on this team, it has difficulty flexing into other roles. Magnezone is weird here. That additional ground weakness, not great. Obviously, it can hit ice types, but you're really not worried about ice types, you're worried about ice coverage. Additionally, base 60 speed is really, really wonky. It's really not going to be great for you under Trick Room unless you're running Iron Ball like every week, which is bad. But you also don't have like Tailwind, which would be very good for Magnezone. We don't have it. So, and then like the redirection is cool, but like it's weak. Like, Ryan made this point already, right? Where it's weak to the ice that Landorus is weak to, and it's weak to psychic that Naganadel is weak to. And so it's like the biggest threats that you're trying to protect with it has common weaknesses with, which is really bad. I think the team has potential, and I think your head's in the right place, but I think it needs a lot of change. And I think it needs to make a lot of trades to the point where, in order to bring this team to the vision that you probably had for it, I think you have to make some trades with other coaches, because just making your 3 free agent trades isn't quite gonna be enough to pull this team to, like, good, you know? This is just, like, PRs are only an assessment of the team. So, like, obviously it's completely possible that you're gonna pop off with it or something. I don't know. But, coach aside, this team is really not great, and I think it needs some editing. Up next, we have the MK Mimikyus. Coached by Yasha. I'm a little frustrated with my computer right now because it's lagging, and I'm trying to record, but that's why it's lagging and it's annoying. Before I get into the team, I just want to say this is honestly and genuinely absolutely one of my favorite logos. I think that's so fucking cool, dude. Anyway, this team is bizarre. I don't get it. It's like not a bad attempt at like bulky offense, but I don't really know what it does, you know? Like, it has Armaldo, but to me, some people might disagree with me on this, and that's fine. But in my brain, like, you can do Sableye Armaldo, but if you're lower than base, like, 50, your potential of outspeeding other fast threats becomes significantly harder. And the reason that I have that opinion, I'm running Beartic right now in a different league, right, with Swift Swim. And even with doubled speed, I still find myself needing like 196 EV's beneficial nature just to outspeed their fastest guy, doubled. And so when you drop below that threshold to 45, you really end up struggling to outrun things that have solid speed tiers. And so you can set Rain and do Swift Swim stuff, but I think even then you're going to struggle with that particular form of speed control. I like Luxray. I think Luxray is pretty decent in a vacuum. I think Komodo is a weird pick. It feels like it really wants setup to me. but without any redirection, that becomes kind of difficult. Same thing with Tapu Bulu. It doesn't need setup in terms of attack. Like base 130 is really good, and then you run like a grass stab, and with grassy terrain, you do stupid damage. But with base 75 speed, you really want some kind of Tailwind, and you do have Tailwind, which is great. But the issue with Fletchinder is that base 84 will get outsped by other things that also have like priority, right? And so you're basically forced to protect turn 1 because people just bring Fake Out for free, and then they Fake Out into Fletchinder, force you to protect so that you can keep your Gale Wings intact, and then they just like hit Bulu for free, and you can double protect. Like, I've done that in the past, but there's still counterplay to that, right? You just run like quick attack or something. And so like Fletchinder has priority Tailwind. It's tier 5 for a reason. It's not super reliable. Personally, I'm a Gale Wings believer, but like it's not great. Other than that, it's like there's so much bulk support in like your high tiers that I worry that you're just never gonna have the necessary damage output. Because while I do think Bulu Luxray is like decent because you're mitigating Luxray's only weakness, it's still only base 70. And so it's really, that's what it comes down to, right? It's your speed tiers. And your only thing that's over 100 is Dugtrio. But Dugtrio gets weakened by Tapu Bulu, and so you have to run it next to something else, like probably Bronzong, so that you can like fire off Earthquakes. But what's Bronzong doing in that situation, right? It's like, I don't see a ton of synergy here, and while you do have some decent like low speed tiers, like your Trick Room mode is really not awful. Your really slow mons are like Bronzong itself, Sableye, which doesn't really function as a Trick Room abuser, Armaldo, which is like fine, and then like Ice Cube, which isn't bad. You can like Belly Drum, but you don't have any redirection, so that becomes less reliable. And so if you don't get that off, then like base 80 attack is bad. And it's also a pure ice type, which is one of the worst types in the game. And so even with a decent, not great, but decent Trick Room speed tier, it's like, I don't know, man. It's just, I think it has some cool tools that don't have the right team around them to really do what you want them to do. And honestly, I don't really know, like, I don't have any specific suggestions. It feels a little all over the place. I don't really know what the focus was. And so if you can focus down like one specific mode that you want to run and at least establish that, then I think this team would be better. But even then, I think it needs a lot of work to be like really viable. Up next, at number 10, we have the Nexus Ironworks. Nexus, buddy, listen. First of all, I see you, okay? Triple terrain, bonkers, absolutely insane. What? And then, and like, I'm not gonna expose you, just in case anybody doesn't know what's happening, but I see what you're doing with the terrain offensively, and it will not carry you far enough. It will do well a couple times, and it will hit the calcs that you want it to, but it doesn't flowchart. Because that has to be there, and your terrain setter has to be there, and Drifblim has to be there, and you can't have 3 mons on the field at once. I think Drifblim does really, really well here, because Drifblim with terrain is just good. Like, raw, solid. Good on any team. But, again, 3 terrain setters, absolutely wild. Blastoise feels really weird for me here, because, like, you want to be able to shell smash, right? But you don't have any redirection, and if you're committing to that kind of setup, it feels almost necessary. Like, in certain matchups, I'm sure you can, but, like, it feels really, really dangerous. Additionally, you have Alolan Marowak, which is amazing. I love Alolan Marowak, really, really strong. Base 45 speed, struggles to work under Trick Room, or not Trick Room, Jesus. Struggles to work under Tailwind, is what I meant to say, and you don't have a single Trick Room setter. Like, nothing on this team learns Trick Room. What is Marowak doing here? I would suggest trading Marowak away, which is ludicrous. I can't believe I'm saying that. I love Marowak, but, like, this is not the team for it. Alternately, you could trade other stuff away for Trick Room setters and probably, like, one more Abuser, but as it stands, Marowak just really doesn't fit here. Aurora's Beartic is cool, but Aurora's is frequently going to die before it can set Veil or use Blizzard, and then Beartic is great. I love Beartic. I'm using it in the UDL, but again, you have to put a lot of investment into speed, even though you're getting double speed, just to outspeed your opponent's team. And so it's not a terrible hail mode, but it's not amazing. Clawitzer has a similar thing to Alolan Marowak, where it's like, it can work under Tailwind, and honestly, that's probably its optimal mode. But in order for Drifblim to set Tailwind, it has to be next to the terrain setter. And so it becomes difficult to utilize, and you could run Iron Ball Trick Room if you had Trick Room, which you don't. Shuckle is trash, and Magikarp is Magikarp. Again, I think this team needs a lot of trades in order to be successful. I personally would trade away 1, at least, maybe 2 terrain setters, and then Shuckle and Magikarp. It's kind of a lot. It needs a lot of pivoting. I think it kind of like the last one, I think it has a lot of good tools, but it doesn't have the right support. It's really wonky, and I think it's going to get outperformed by the vast majority of other teams, which is why it's this low on the list. Up next, we have Wolfender's team, the Salty Suicunes. Listen, Wolf, I am going to keep it a stack with you, all right? I like this team. Every team from now on, I like. However, the thing about this team is that this team struggles really hard against opposing Trick Room, which is not what you want. Struggling against Trick Room is rough because you have to invest in speed so that you can stop Trick Room and then outspeed. But their goal is to underspeed, and so they can invest in a lot more bulk. And so your damage output tends to be a lot lower than theirs. Additionally, you don't have great tools for stopping Trick Room. Like, you have Liepard gets Taunt. Most Trick Room users, setters, are running Mental Herb against this team, honestly. Because, like, if I'm running a Trick Room setter, I'm not worried about getting O-Code. I'm worried about Prankster Taunt, and that's it. And there's not really much of anything else that you can do to stop it. Other than that, I think it's cool. Like, I like this team. I think Braviary is an interesting Tailwind setter. I don't think it's, like, the best one, but it's certainly not the worst. It also exerts a lot of pressure in its own right, unlike something like Whimsicott, which I have on my team. And so it sets Tailwind, and then it starts putting out, honestly, a lot of damage. I also like Scizor. I think it's a little weird on this team, but I there are worse teams to have Scizor on it. I like Liepard in general. I think Togekiss is cool. I think Incineroar is really strong. But when you get below that, it becomes a little weird. It's not the worst thing in the world, right? Like, Mime Ice Shard into Unburdened Sceptile Weakness policy, really not bad. Sceptile is not, like, the strongest mon, so it's not, like, the best thing to do that with, but considering they're both tier 4s, it's really pretty solid value. I don't really... Manectric feels like something where you said, hey, I need an electric type, and then you got Manectric. And that's, like, not bad, but it's I don't know, it kind of feels like it's just there. Same for Swampert, if I'm being honest with you. Like, I don't hate Manectric or Swampert. I don't think Swampert is great in doubles, if I'm being honest with you, but I think it's, like, fine. Manectric is certainly interesting. It gives you a pretty solid, it gives you a manageable speed tier, and then, like, Lightning Rod to protect only, like, Barbaracle and Togekiss, honestly. And then, like, Volt Switch, Thunder Wave, Eerie Impulse, whatever. I think you can do stuff. And then, like, you have Redirection for Barbaracle to set up Shell Smashes, which is something that I mentioned when talking about Blastoise earlier. And then Rapidash, again, it feels like you were like, I want a Psychic type. And then you picked up Rapidash. And it's not bad, you know? Like, for a tier 5, you could certainly do a lot worse. But I don't know. I feel like you're going to get out-damaged by most other teams. Your Disruption is really good, but Disruption acts as an enabler for offense, which this team is honestly a little lacking in. Obviously, like, you have strong stuff, again, Incineroar, Scizor, Braviary, Sceptile, Barbaracle, but that's kind of it. And personally, I feel like most other teams are going to have more offense with more role-condensed support, so to speak. Things that can do in one mon what you're doing with 3. I don't think it's a bad team, but I think it's also not great. I think with a couple trades it could be really solid, but as it stands right now, I'm not the biggest fan, obviously. Up next, we have the SoCal Sylveons. Usually I would be very scared to rank Dina this low, but fortunately, I don't have to be. She's been pretty upfront about how she's really just, like, experimenting and trying new things and not, like, going super duper sweaty try hard, so it's fine. It's weird, if I'm being honest with you. There's a lot of stuff on this team that I like, right? Like, I think Mudsdale is a really fun mon. If Rapid Strike Urshifu didn't crit every time, I think that would be a sick partner with Mudsdale, right? Where you run, like, Surging Strikes to get a +3 defense boost and, like, proc a weakness policy or something, and then you use Max Quake to boost your special defense. That's not really doable because, holy shit, Surging Strikes would do so much damage, but I like Mudsdale as a mon in general. I like, it's bulky, it's strong, it's a really, really solid max target, and it does pretty well under Trick Room, so if you pair with something like Cofagrigus, then it's clicking buttons and it's getting damage off. The amount of Intimidate Deterrent is also really nice. Having Defiant on Thunderous and competitive on Boltund and Defiant on Obstagoon. Like, really, really nice. But there are some tools that I don't know. I think lack of Tailwind hurts this team. I know I talk about speed control all the time, but, like, here especially, right? Like, 97 is certainly really good, but it's getting outrun by kind of a lot of other things because it doesn't break that base 100 benchmark. And so if you have Tailwind, then you can, like, really pop off with that. I think Obstagoon also really, really appreciates Tailwind for the exact same reasons. Boltund is really fast, but with base 90 in both attacking stats, its damage output is not anything to write home about, a little below average. And then, like, yeah, you can run Strong Jaw, but it's like, eh. And then if you're running a special set, then you're relying on your opponent to boost your special attack. I think Impidimp is cool, but it does lack some things that Grimmsnarl and even Morgrim have. But it still gets a good spread of support moves, so I think that's cool. I think it's kind of it has to have Sash every single week because even Eviolite isn't saving it from anything. The Eviolite is going to Magneton instead almost every time. I like Magneton, especially with Eviolite, where, like, it becomes honestly and genuinely really pretty bulky, but, like, Magneton, the fact that Magneton is one of my favorite things on this team is concerning. And then, like, Tyrantrum, Ryan talked about Tyrantrum, it's bad, especially without Tailwind. And then Rapidash is Rapidash. It can do stuff, but most of the time it doesn't. This team doesn't really need to set up, which is cool. Like, there are some, the teams prior, it felt like their pressure relied on clicking their best pressure relied on clicking some sort of setup button, as opposed to this team, which does not, so that's cool. But it's just, like, it feels weird, and also it does remarkably poorly against fairy types. Like, the only fairy resists are Magneton and Rapidash. And considering they're both weak to ground, it's like, it feels pretty easy to get around, in all honesty. So I think it has potential, and obviously, like, Dina's gonna play cracked because it's Dina, but the team in and of itself, I don't know, it's weird, and I'm not a big fan. Anyway, coming in at number 7, we have the Perth Centiscorchers, Jaden. I like this team. I think it needs a couple changes. Metagross doesn't have, like, the kind of support that one would usually see on a Metagross team, but it has, it doesn't have Tailwind, really, is what I'm saying, but, like, it has weakness policy procs, you know, it gets, like, Bulldoze from Entei, or, no, that's Stomping Tantrum, sorry, Bulldoze from Garchomp, or, like, Shadow Sneak from Dusknoir can proc it. So I think it's, like, fine. I think Garchomp is pretty good in its own right. Same thing with Entei. I think Primarina is decent under Trick Room. I think 60 is weird. I don't love base 60 speed under Trick Room because most other people are gonna have slower Mons, and then you set Trick Room and they're gonna outpace you. But I'm a big believer in Dusknoir as a Trick Room setter. I think it's really, really cool, and I think it has a lot of potential. Redirection with Tangela, really good. I love that on teams, like, any team, really. Tangela's a really good pick. Hitmonchan, you can do coaching stuff. It gets Fake Out, which is great. Iron Fist Close Combat, crazy. I think Hitmonchan is really good. I like that here. Swoobat, I'm aware, was picked up with Tailwind in mind, But as you already know, it doesn't get it. So if you could trade Swoobat away for a real Tailwind setter, and then trade Maractus, who really, honestly and genuinely is not doing a damn thing for this team, trade that away for, like, another thing that can feasibly maybe function under Trick Room, and I think you got a really solid team here. I think Lopunny Cheese is always cool and fun, and by cool and fun I mean annoying for the opponent to deal with, because I think it's good. And then, like, I think Skuntank is crazy good value for a tier 5. It does a bunch of weird shit, and I think it's cool, and I like it here. Overall, I think with those two trades, this team becomes pretty cracked, if I'm being honest with you. Not, like, best in the league, but, like, really it'll open up a lot of options for you, I think. Up next, at number 6, we have the LSJE Monsters with, coached by Jack, shout out. This team has a bunch of modes. The Trick Room mode is honestly really scary. You have Trapinch, which shouldn't be, it's not the primary thing. I skipped to the bottom, but, like, base 10 is not getting undersped by anything except, like, Munchlax, which didn't get drafted. Base 100 speed, Jesus Christ, I can't talk. Base 100 attack is honestly really pretty solid. Arena Trap is nice utility, so that does, I'm a Trapinch believer, is what I'm trying to say. Mawile is really good support under Trick Room, and Sheer Force can honestly get you some really solid damage, even off of a middling to not great attacking stat. And then obviously Torkoal, so slow, and firing off, like, usually charcoal boosted eruptions in the sun, super strong. Hatterene is really strong, everybody knows that. So the Trick Room mode is really strong. The Sun mode is really strong with solar powered Charizard, Gastrodon diverting any water attacks that might be coming your way, Lilligant threatening those water types and rock types, and also either being, like, offensive with a pretty decent 110 special attack stat, or, like, Sleep Powder or whatever. You also have, like, Noivern is a really good Tailwind setter. I think I like Malamar a lot. I think it has a lot of potential with Contrary and, like, the various moves that it has at its disposal. You also have pretty solid stuff with Lucario. Setting Trick Room, I worry might be a little difficult, just because, like, redirection makes setting Trick Room so easy, but your only Fake Out, which is another tool that can help you set Trick Room, is Morpeko, who does not want to be in Trick Room. And then, like, obviously Magic Bounce helps because you can't get taunted, but you can get killed before you can do anything about it. So I think that's something that you might run into an issue with, but if you can figure out how to set Trick Room week to week whenever, like, you need to set Trick Room, then I think this team is really and honestly and genuinely going to do really well. I like it. In 5th place, we have the San Diego Sandacondas, who do not have Dunsparce on their team. Fuck you, Joey. I kid. I think this team is really scary. You have, like, Grimmsnarl just by itself is, like, a really good support piece in a vacuum. With something like Spectrier, which is just, it's gonna outrun almost everything, and it just, like, kills the shit, you know? But it's like, oh, Spectrier has not great defensive stats, so I can just kill it. Nope, Grimmsnarl's gonna set screens. Oh, you think you can outspeed it? Thunder Wave. Fake Out Pressure is amazing. Same thing with Galarian Zapdos. Obviously, like, its offensive stats are not as good, but considering its dual stabs are boosting its attack and speed, and its bulk is decent. Grimmsnarl does the exact same thing for that. So, like, that top 3, super fucking scary. I think Gothitelle is really good, personally. Fake Out, amazing. Shadow Tag, being able to, like, if you lead something your opponent wasn't expecting and they aren't ready for it, they can't pivot into an answer. Shadow Tag is really good. It also gets things like Helping Hand, Heal Pulse, so it can be really supportive. And base 95 special attack is not awful. It's not great, but having that competitive next to Zapdos's Defiant is really, really nice, because it makes it really scary to bring Intimidate against this team. Registeel I'm not a huge fan of, but I've seen it be successful, so like I would never sleep on Registeel. I think maybe you could get a better steel type, but whatever. It's a really solid defensive piece, and so I think I mean, it's fine. Rotom Mow is really good. It's a Rotom form. Do I really have to say anything else? I'm on Archeop's Believer. I think it's really solid. Base 1 speed, 110 speed, Tailwind, phenomenal. Not phenomenal, but like really good. Base 140 attack, also really good. Like super dummy good. And like, yeah, Defeatist sucks, but if you're running it next to like Helping Hand, Heal Pulse, Gothitelle, and keeping it out of that Defeatist range after you set Tailwind, fuck dude. I think Archeops can really pop here. I think Scentiscorch is 65 is not a good speed tier for Trick Room, but if you run it with like an Iron Ball, I'm using it in UDL at the moment, so like I've done this, right? You throw like an Iron Ball on there and it's underspeeding stuff. Base 115 attack is not the best, but like considering it's tier 4, really, really solid value for where you get it from, which is really nice. And then like Bug isn't a great type, but it's fine because you can at least like get the special attack drop if you really need it and you want to max it. Sandaconda I also really like. I fought a guy with Sandaconda in the MDL last season, and it was weakness policy, and it kind of popped off. I'm using this in UDL as well, funny enough, and honestly, like, it's a solid, bulky Mon that can do damage if you set it up to succeed, which this team has the potential to do. Wishy-Washy is a great Trick Room Mon. I know when Dan was doing PRs for my GLDL Season 1 team, he said he was not very high on the Wishy-Washy pick. I'm not like that. I love Wishy-Washy. I think it's a great Mon. I think it pops in Trick Room. Its coverage is not amazing, but it doesn't really matter because it just fuck dude, that Mon clicks buttons. And then Garbodor, again, something that I'm using in the UDL. I think it's really good tier 5 value. It's kind of straightforward, but it has, like, it can flex into a couple different roles if you really, really need it to. It's your T5, so, like, it's a middling Pokemon, but considering you got a mid-tier, I don't know, it doesn't matter. You know, it's not like you picked a garbage tier 1, pun intended. It's tier 5. Tier 5 is garbage, whatever. I like this team a lot. I think it's really, really solid. Next, number 4, we have the Great Lakes Aces, coached by Waken VGC, aka the big boss man himself. Okay, this, I don't know, man. This team is just really good. Like, you got your Sun mode, Ninetales, Venusaur, Cinderace is Cinderace, come on, Rotom Wash, I don't think I have to say anything else about that. Aromatisse, dummy. It's such a good TR setter. The fact that it can't be taunted, insane. And so you go up against, like, you just throw like a Babiri Berry or a Sash on there depending on calcs, and if there's Fake Out, then you just like protect turn 1 and then set Trick Room turn 2, and it's basically impossible to stop. And you also have some really pretty solid Trick Room abusers. Guzzlord is pretty good. It's a little situational, but like I saw it pop in last season of the MDL, so like I know that it can do good stuff. Absolute bonkers base HP stat, and then like its offensive stats are not great, but they're not bad, so it's like it can do stuff if you really need it to. Berserker, I like Berserker a lot. Yeah, base 110 attack is not great, but getting the boost from Tough Claws or Steely Spirit, busted. Empoleon, I think it's a really good supportive piece. You can get Prankster Sunny Day, so like if Ninetales dies and you need to reset Sun for some reason, you have the ability to also like fake out Thunder Wave, Screech, I think, Fake Tears. It doesn't get screens, but like whatever. Tauros, I think, is good. I personally, I like Tauros more when you have something to proc Anchor Point, but Sheer Force with base 100 attack, really, really solid. Because, like, I definitely used to undersell Sheer Force myself, but you think about it, and it's like Nidoking, its damage output is ludicrous, and it's base like 85. So Tauros having base 15 higher than that and Sheer Force, really good. And then Intimidate is just always really solid to have access to. Drizzile, I think, is cool. I'm sure you have plans for it that I don't see right now because I'm not the most familiar with its move pool, but I also know that it gets screens, which is great on a team like this, because like you have some frailer mons, and so being able to go, all right, set these screens, make these mons bulkier, really, really good. And then I just think Throw is a really good tier 5. Bulky as hell, decent attack. You have Circle Throw. Oh! I just realized, and I'm sorry that I didn't see it before, and I'm not going to say it out loud, but I get it, and I take it back, and I'm sorry. But yeah, like, decent under Trick Room. It's just, I like Throw. I think it's a really good mon. Its speed control outside of Trick Room is not the greatest. Like, you have Chlorophyll on Venusaur, obviously, that's great. And then Cinderace gets Airstream. Awesome. Good for him. But if you're going up against, like, a Tailwind team, damn. I think it's a really good team. I think that, like, it's, the speed tiers are not bad outside of Trick Room, you know? Like, obviously, I don't, which is why it's this high. I don't think it necessarily needs more speed control than it already has. I just think that, like, that's something to be aware of. And so I think that, plus, honestly, being pretty frail outside of, like, Rotom, Aromatisse, and Throw, and to an extent, Guzzlord. Like, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of important pieces on this team are pretty easy to kill. Again, not the worst thing in the world. It's a hyper offense team, so the goal is like, okay, just kill them before they kill you. It's good. It's a good team. But I don't know, man. Just like, it's not a flawless team. The flaws that it has are relatively small, but just like being aware of stuff like that, dope. And third, listen, I don't feel great about this, okay? I don't. It might be controversial to put myself at number 3, but I think it's a really good team. I'm not going to get too into it. I have a team overview up on my channel already. If you want me to talk about my team, you can go watch that. I don't really talk about its strengths and weaknesses over there, which is kind of dumb, but, like, I think it's good. I think it's got a good spread of physical and special offense, Trick Room, outside of Trick Room, Tailwind, support, etc., etc., etc. I like the type spread. There it is. Now, for the top 2, this was really, really fucking hard. Like, I struggled to decide who was going to go in number 1 and who was going to go in number 2. It was rough. honestly and genuinely, it was really fucking hard. These teams are busted, but I decided, and I think number 2 is the Miami Flare, coached by Hunter. Shout out Hunter, that's my boy. This team is busted. Celesteela, Raichu, Pelipper, Ludicolo, absolutely insane rain mode. So fucking good. Tapu Lele, Thievul, so good. Sock, I've seen Hunter use Sock in the past, and he pops every time. If anybody knows how to use this Mon, it's him. Stoutland, I think, is a little one-dimensional on this team specifically, because it's kind of just like, it's either Intimidate or like Choice Scarf Scrappy, but like it does stuff. I think Duocean is like a sleeper pick for sure. Like base 125 on honestly a pretty bulky Eviolite user that also sets Trick Room and is base 30. Fuck, dude. In tier 5, sign me up. The thing that ended up getting this team number 2 instead of number 1 is that after using Sudowoodo in the VBA Season 2, I am not a Sudowoodo believer. I think that Mon sucks ass. It doesn't do anything. It's so bad. And then, like, Whiscash is good. I think it's cool on this rain team, because, like, hydration, I guess. But at the end of the day, it's Whiscash. It's a nice stop to things that, like, want to set up, because, like, weakness policy is all over the place in Max, and so having access to Oblivious, really, really nice. But it's Whiscash. You know? It does a couple things, but for the most part, trash. And then again, Sudowoodo's just bad. If anyone is going to make me a believer, it'll be Hunter. But as it stands right now, I think the potential of his bottom 2 picks is keeping him out of first place. Also, the first place team is broken. No one is surprised. It's Rolo. Come on, dude. Look at this. Just take a second. The roll compression, which is a term that I stole from Toxic, he's the GOAT, is ludicrous. Like, the amount of shit that this team can do with its top 3 is absolutely apeshit bonkers. And when you throw in Meowstick, it does anything it wants. It's got like a mini Sun mode with Vileplume and Heliolisk. It's got really good Tailwind with fucking base 130 Aerodactyl. Insane. Intimidate and Fake Out on Torracat, tier 4. Crazy. I'm not 100% sure what Cryogonal is doing here, but I'm not asking any fucking questions, dude. I'm a Cryogonal believer. It's fast. It's got good special bulk. It does shit. If he wants to do, like, a slow thing, then, like, he can set Trick Room with, like, Soul Rock, and Octillery can do whatever it wants, and Vileplume without Sun, base 50, that's good, it can do whatever it wants, Clefable can do whatever it wants. Like, it has a passable Trick Room mode. Soul Rock, it's not a great Mon, but it gets, like, Rock Slide, it gets Will-O-Wisp. Morning Sun is, like, what, 75% of its health back under Sun, which he has access to. He's got beat up shit with Dragapult into Cobalion. He can set screens with Dragapult. He can, honestly, he can, like, surf and heal Heliolisk with Dry Skin if he wanted to. Aerodactyl with Tailwind, Meowstick with fucking, I already said screens. Thunder Wave, it can overwrite people, it can overwrite terrain, so, like, if he's going against someone who's abusing that, he can just get rid of it. Like, this team can do so much, and honestly, with God as my witness, I have no idea what to do about this. Like, I have a general idea of what I should theoretically try to do against every other team, and then I look at this and I'm like, I don't know, dude, lose? Like, it's such a good team. And admittedly, I'm a little biased. I helped build this team a little bit, but not that biased and not that much, because mostly he just came to me and he was like, here's this idea. And I said, that's disgusting and broken. And he said, cool, I'm going to do it. And then he came to me like 10 minutes later and was like, I think I'm going to do this instead. And I was like, don't, it's dumb. And then we have this, and it's actual, real, true, genuine insanity. This is a ludicrous team. And I think the fact that I believe in its tier 5s is what ended up putting it above Hunter's team. Also, the flexibility is stupid. Like, there's like hidden text that he's talked to me about that I left out, and there's so many of them. This team does whatever it wants. It's insane. I don't think anyone's surprised that it's here at first. And he's gonna be like, oh, I can't believe I'm first. That's cap. It's not cap, and you're a bitch. God, this team is so good. Anyway, I'm gonna not ramble because I'll just go forever, and this video doesn't need to be any longer, and I still have to go record another one. So that's gonna be it from me. If you disagree with me, cool, let's talk about it. We're all in a server together. Just ping me and be like, hey, dumbass, you're a dumbass, and then we'll have a conversation. It'll be tight. But until then, that's it from me on Empoleon Division teams. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you're excited to play. I'm excited to play you guys. I like the vast majority of these teams, and I like all of you guys. So let's have a great season, and I'll fucking see you guys in the Discord, dog. Peace out.